There are 8 ways to absolutely ruin or kill the prospect of absolutely any sale. Can I get a scribe, someone to volunteer to come up and awesome. Go ahead and jump on up here. Give her a big round of applause, please. Awesome. Let's use red. 8 ways to ruin or kill any sale. And a lot of these may seem very counterintuitive. The first one, of course, is talking too much. And we mentioned this a little bit yesterday. A lot of amateur salespeople believe that the more information they can spew out at the prospect means, oh gosh, well hopefully one of the features or the benefits of this product will stick and actually make them want to buy this product or service. Does that work? No. How does it make you feel when someone is spewing information, facts, and data at you? You tune out, tone out. They don't care about me, or they don't value my time. True or true? The same can be said a lot of times. How many of you have ever received an email, like a traditional email or a Facebook message saying, oh, hey, you should really take a look at this website, and they give you a link? How many of you have ever received something like that? Raise your hand. Say aye. And it's interesting, they feel that, oh gosh, as long as I send that to enough people, at least one person is going to click on it. And that could be true. If you send it to 1 million people, you might get a couple of people to actually click on that link. There's just one problem. It sends a very clear message that I do not value or care about your time. I simply want you to look at what I do rather than actually getting to know you and finding out what your needs are. Does this make sense to you all? Awesome. Number 2, talking too quickly. When a potential salesperson is talking way too quickly, it sends off the message that they are extremely desperate. It sends off the message that they are extremely desperate and they want nothing else than for you to actually say yes and give them your money. And so again, these two kind of go hand in hand, don't they? You can ruin absolutely any sale by either talking too much or talking way too quickly. Number 3, focusing on the money from that sale. Tomorrow morning, we're actually going to be studying a little bit of body language, and it's fascinating. First of all, how many of you are familiar with body language or studied any sort of body language at all? Quite a few of you. For those of you who aren't familiar, words are only 7%. How much, please? 7%. Thank you. Only 7% of communication. 57% of communication is our body language or our gestures. What happens is every single thought that we think, either consciously or subconsciously, travels through the body in one form or another and will actually cause different muscle groups to twitch or move. Again, we're going to talk a little bit more about that tomorrow specifically, but a mistake that a lot of people make is they allow themselves to focus on the money of that potential sale or the commissions that they're going to be receiving. This is one of the reasons why we very strongly caution people to avoid what we call the salesman smirk, because if they are thinking about the money, it usually causes them to begin to smile a little bit. Does this make sense? And so, my friends, whenever you are talking to someone, make sure you have the sole intention to simply serve them. Again, a lot of reasons. Well, first of all, how many of you have ever been talking to a prospect and they kind of look at you and they just say, well, do you have a card or can I call you? Who's ever experienced that before? Say aye. A lot of reasons why people do that is because they can sense something that's not genuine about that person. And so a lot of people, to be frank, simply don't have the guts or don't have the heart to actually tell a person no thank you. And so they'll come up with some sort of bogus excuse just to get away from that person, saying something like, do you have a card or can I call you? Whenever I hear those words, I can always tell, oh gosh, I did something that triggered this person's salesman alarm. And I can always tell that that person isn't actually interested or doesn't actually want what I'm offering. Does this make sense to you all? And so one more time, number 3, focusing on the money from that sale. Number 4, having overbearing energy. If you recall, whenever I'm doing a sale, especially when it comes to the close, which we'll talk about the specifics of a close of a sale a little after we go on break. Whenever it comes to especially the close, or even when I am giving details of a product or service, I always make sure that my body is at an angle from that person. And I'm jumping ahead of myself a little bit. Is that okay? Whenever I move into the close, meaning asking them specifically for the sale and for an exchange of money, I am always seated. I will never, ever, ever move into a close while standing. Any idea why? Makes them feel uncomfortable, overbearing. You look better. Any other reasons? Yeah, and that's exactly it. That's exactly it. I know that I have a rather strong energy, and this is especially true with a lot of males, some females too, but especially among us males, and especially true with those who are much taller. If I'm talking to a person and they're like extremely tall, they're like 7 feet tall, and they're like trying to sell me something, if they're looking at me like this and they're trying to sell me something, I will almost always say no. Almost always. Because I feel very uncomfortable regarding that sale. And therefore, I know that I need to be extremely, extremely cautious with where that blast of Eric energy is going. Does this make sense? Give your neighbor a high five. Say, that's for me. That's for me. Go ahead and write down your questions for now. We'll get to them. Number 5, as we mentioned before, is the salesman smirk. Whenever you are in a sales process, keep your face neutral, especially when you get to the close. That's important during the entire process. Now, that doesn't mean as you're building rapport and as you're getting to know the person, you can't smile and you can't laugh a little bit. But as you're talking about the actual features of the product, as you're doing the kind of the diagnosis process or the prescription process, if you will, especially during that process and the close, you need to make sure there is no smile on your face. Again, that seems really counterintuitive to a lot of people, yes or yes? Because a lot of people are like, oh, but I want to seem pleasant. I want to like send the message to the person that I like them and so that they trust me. But again, it's extremely counterintuitive. The exact opposite takes place when you're talking about the features or benefits of a product or service, or as you move into the close and are talking about the price. If you have any sort of smile on your face, almost always that will kill the sale. And so remember, make sure you have a completely neutral face. What type of face? Turn to your neighbor and give him a neutral face. Now give him a high five. Say, you're a master of persuasion. Number 6 may surprise some people. Number 6 may surprise some people. It's asking the question, what do you think? Especially as you're transitioning to the close, never, ever ask the prospect, what do you think? Any idea why? That's exactly it, yeah. We have multiple sides to the brain, don't we? We have a logical side and we have an emotional side. Which side of the brain do we actually make purchasing decisions from? The emotional side, true or true? And so if you ask them the question, what do you think, you are literally getting them out of the emotional buying side of the brain into, like you said, the logical thinking about side of the brain, and it can actually kill almost any sale. When a person asks this question, a lot of times they will then say, well, you know what, I do need to think about it. And salesman, you tell me, is that a phrase you want to hear? Absolutely not. And so always avoid the phrase, what do you think? Number 7, trying to force the prospect to say yes. My friends, if you are trying to back your prospect into a corner, you might actually get a yes, but you will also create a lot of bad will for you, your product or service, and your company. You will also find that you get a lot of cancellations on your products or services. Does this make sense to you all? Again, sometimes you might actually get a yes. You might back a person in and they might feel pressured, and just to get you the heck away from them, they may actually give you a yes. But again, you are setting yourself up for a lot of bad will. Please take it from a person who's made this mistake way too many times. Please avoid trying to pressure the person into saying yes. The absolute best salespeople on this planet are always the ones that give people plenty of space to make the right choice for them. Yes or yes? Finally, number 8, allowing people to be indecisive. Allowing people to be indecisive. One of the absolute worst ways that you can end a sales call is by allowing them to say, I have to think this over. Now, again, this may seem really counterintuitive. Oh, but Eric, didn't you just say just a moment ago not to like try to force them into saying yes? Yes, that's exactly what I said. I try to live by a principle which says encourage people to make the right decision for them quickly. And in fact, whenever I'm actually talking to people, when a person actually asks me to make them an offer for a mentoring program, I have a number of qualifying questions. And one of the questions that I actually ask a person before I even go into the offer is, are you the type of person that has to think about things, or are you the type of person that allows yourself to simply check in with intuition and make the right decision for you quickly? I tell people straight up that I cannot accept I'll think about it people into my mentoring programs. Oh, so Eric, are you trying to like pressure them into making like the worst decision for them? Absolutely not. In fact, let me ask you this. How many of you have been sold or enrolled by me into any sort of mentoring program? Keep your hands up, look around. And keep your hands up if at any point in time you felt any sort of major pressure or coercion in order to sign up for that mentoring program. Look around. Now, some of you that raised your hands, did you sign up for $10,000 or more? $20,000 or more? $50,000 or more? Yeah. And what's interesting is ever since we changed our business model to following these steps here, I don't get a single person even signing up for our highest level mentoring programs for tens and tens of thousands of dollars that comes back saying, Eric, I felt like you pressured me into saying yes. I know how to qualify. What's the word, please? I know how to qualify a person, and I know how to very gently nudge a person or encourage them to make a decision. I also openly invite them to tell me no. One of the very first things I tell a person before I even make an offer is I'll look them right in the eyes and say, if what I show you here today is not the absolute best thing for you, would you do me a favor and would you tell me no thank you? Now, if you were in some sort of sales presentation and the salesperson actually said that to you, how would that make you feel? Go ahead and shout some things out. Relieved? You have the choice? Yeah. If you have the option to say no, are you a lot more likely to actually say yes? Absolutely. Having said that, whenever a person says, Eric, even after they've told me they're okay to tap into intuition and make a decision, whether it's no or yes, if they still look at me and say, Eric, I can't commit to anything. I need a week to think this over. I will very, very kindly and respectfully look them in the eye and say, it sounds like you probably aren't ready for this program. Whenever a person looks at me and still says, I have to think about this, I gently look him in the eye and say, you know what, usually when I hear the words, I'll think about it, usually that actually means no, and for whatever reason, the person doesn't have the heart to tell me so. I want you to know that you will absolutely not offend me whatsoever by telling me no thank you. In fact, if you actually, if you need to tell me no thank you, would you please do so? And in fact, a lot of times people look at me and they say, you know what, you're absolutely right. For whatever reason, I just don't feel like this is right for me, and so my answer is no thank you. And I look them in the eyes and say, thank you so very much. I respect you so much more for that. And having said that, knowing that this is not right for you, could you tell me what would be right for you? And we can either customize a program specifically for your needs, or I can refer you out to another mentor or another company that would suit your needs better. If you were on the receiving end of hearing that, how would that make you feel? Comfortable? Like you really want to know? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The thing about avoiding people taking way too long to make a decision is the longer it takes for a person to make a decision, the less likely it is that they will actually make the right decision for them.